I love this. This footage is from winter earlier this year in Luleå. On the same flight, I was able to capture first this particular protection, which I did not know existed. Of course it exists. It protects the engine by stopping snow from entering. It is like a thick, soft lid removed right before takeoff, and then, on the same journey in the sky, I saw two optical phenomena. I will introduce them more before showing them, because the footage of the first halo is very short. And before takeoff, we will also be covered by a particular pink-orange coating which protects the airplane from freezing. First, I saw a sundog, which is an optical phenomenon which sort of replicates the sun in a circle. It is also called mock sun or parhelion. Then, right after, still the same flight, another halo appeared in front of my eyes, called Bottlinger's ring. Actually, I only identified it as such when I went through the footage. My footage is gold. Bottlinger's is a rare type of a halo, which is a small replica of the sun, called a sub-sun, and is colorless. It is elliptical, not circular. I'm looking through research papers where researchers state that they observed the Bottlinger's ring in virga, below clouds, at an air temperature in the approximate range from -8 to -12 degrees Celsius, at an altitude of approximately 2,600 to 3,600 meters above mean sea level. Virga, you might wonder. Virga, roughly explained, looks like streaks of precipitation, so it looks like it is rain coming out of clouds when you look at clouds from a distance. This streak never reaches the ground because it changes its physical form before that. It either evaporates or sublimates. A virga can also be called a dry storm. That is a favorite name of mine. So, common characteristics of elliptical halos is that they occur in altocumulus virga, so virgas at a particular height. They exist for a very short amount of time, and the cause for formation might be due to snow crystals with dendrite formation, so crystals that have a multi-branching form. They resemble a fractal, but there are also researchers suggesting the formation is based on pyramid-shaped crystals. The physical mechanism is actually not yet fully understood. For the halo to be created to begin with, the ice crystals must have a clear geometrical shape and the light reflected in the same direction. The elliptical halo named for Bottlinger is because Bottlinger described seeing it from a hot air balloon in 1909. The oldest known photograph of this is from 1970, and to see my footage, we first have to rise to the sky. At this point, I'm realizing I should send my footage to a meteorology institute to contribute to their research. Oh my god, this is big! For the record, you can perfectly well observe sundogs on the ground. And the halos you are about to see are not perfect, and also a bit difficult to take a great picture of. I do recommend that you search for more pictures for comparison, and when you do, surely you will stumble upon more beautiful and exciting sky phenomena. As for the sundog, which we will be seeing first, it is most commonly happening at an angle of 22 degrees around the sun, and if it is a double halo, the larger circle will be appearing at an angle of 46 degrees. There is a very famous Swedish painting showing the two halos above Stockholm on the 20th of April in 1535. It lasted for 2 hours and was at the time perceived as an omen in how the king, Gustav Vasa, had been treating the church. He had taken a lot of the church's assets. We are almost done with the coating entirely, and in this video you will not be seeing this airplane taking off ground. We will be directly in the air, seeing the halos. So a few last splashes, and the cabin chief is about to decide which color we are to have during our flight, and this time you will see that it is both blue and slightly pink. And I think I prefer both colors, but at different times of the flight for the variation. And finally, are you ready? Sun dog! Subsun number 1 is at the bottom of the circle. There is a rainbow touch to the entire circle, and perhaps there's a hint of a second subsun to the left. And straight on to Bottlinger's circle. This footage is much longer, and it reappears behind the clouds a couple of times. And I don't think it needs much introduction. You rather clearly see there is something very particular about this footage. My predictions are that once I have sent this footage to meteorologists, they might be willing to get back and tell me if there is something new that can be added to the existing knowledge based on the clouds that are seen here. Of course, I will provide the researchers information about when and where this footage was taken, and by looking at the time and date, they'll be able to track back how the weather was like then, draw maybe new conclusions, and of course, based on this, I'm very motivated to learn a lot more about the secrets of the clouds and reflections to spot them in the sky. Indications are also that if the perihelion appears close to the ground, it indicates a particular weather change that will take place in the coming 2 days. While enjoying this rare phenomena very actively, I should also mention that in a recent article published by BBC, it is stated that gate allocation is a surprisingly complex task. So, of course, we're following a particular route now while being in the air, but also when landing and when taking off. If coordinating that well, a lot of fuel can be saved. There is a person with a lovely title, Quantum Computing Lead at Lufthansa Industry Solutions, explaining that with 15 gates and 10 airplanes, there are more than 570 billion possibilities for making these gates available. When picking the best gate possible, it also includes that passengers get to spend less time waiting on the tarmac. The planning is actually done 1 year ahead, revised a month in advance, and lastly, on the day of the flight. It turns out, when your airplane is further away from the terminal, it is because it is at a stand with a lower parking fee. And of course, when making this plan, expected runway assignments, airport staffing, scheduled taxiway, all can change at last minute when an airplane is delayed, and as a consequence, delay at one end lead to that departures several hours in another city might have to be cancelled. 40% as of today, in October 2024, said in a survey by Aerocloud that Excel and Word documents are still used to store this information, so not artificial intelligence tools you might have been expecting. Investing in systems that use machine learning is happening, for example, at American Airlines. A system called Smart Gating is since a year back used at Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport to assign arriving aircrafts to the nearest available gate of the route with the shortest taxi time. The system has shown to shorten the aircraft taxi by 20%, which means it also saves 1.4 million gallons of jet fuel annually. I actually checked, why is it called taxi? The word taxi was used before cars. Even when you took a horse carriage for transport and paid for it in, say, 1899, you paid a particular sum based on the distance. So a taximeter is an adaptation of the German word taxameter and is based on the words tax or charge or scale of charges. The first taxis of Paris actually were equipped with meters from 1898. horse-drawn carriages for hire began operating in both Paris and London in the early 17th century. Supposedly the first documented service of this kind was in London in 1605. At this point of our flight, we already have begun descending and we are approaching Stockholm. In fact, we are very close. However, I have to cut the footage here because it was very difficult to film when landing. Therefore, I'm saying bye for now and see you soon in the next video.